They touched Kyle. They actually touched him.
Cadet, stand down. That's an order.
With all due respect, Commander, not today.
The Varric outpost smelled like burned metal and alien rain. Cadet Sara Voss had been stationed on Meridian 7 for exactly 43 days, and in that time she had learned 3 things about the Drakon species. They were fast, they were cruel, and they never attacked without a reason. Until tonight. She had been running diagnostic checks on the east perimeter sensors when the alarm screamed through the base. A sharp 3-pulse siren. Hostile contact. Close range. Sara dropped her datapad, grabbed her rifle from the wall rack, and sprinted toward the sound without waiting for orders. The corridor was already filling with smoke. She burst through the heavy steel door and stopped cold. Kale was on the ground. Her chest tightened into something sharp and frozen. Kale Doran, her training partner, her bunkmate, the only person on this rust-colored moon who laughed at her terrible jokes, was lying face down in the red dirt. 3 Drakon soldiers stood over him. One had its clawed foot pressed against the back of his neck. She counted. 3 Drakons. 7 feet tall each. Ridge-spined, scale-armored, built like war machines wrapped in dark leather skin. Their eyes were yellow and flat. The one pressing Kale down turned its massive head and looked directly at her. It made a low, guttural sound, almost like a laugh. Her calm crackled. Cadet Voss, this is Commander Harlan. We have a diplomatic situation. The Drakon unit claims your partner crossed a boundary line. Stand down. Do not engage. I repeat, do not engage. Sara looked at Kale. He wasn't moving. She clicked the comm off. The Drakon watching her took one heavy step forward, tilting its head like it was studying something unfamiliar. It had probably never seen a human hold their ground before. Most cadets ran. Sara didn't run. She reached down and unclipped the pulse revolver from her thigh holster. Then she pulled her carbon blade combat knife from her boot with her left hand. She straightened up, squared her shoulders, and stared back into those flat yellow eyes. "Get your foot off my friend," she said quietly. "I won't ask twice." The Drakon lunged. It was faster than she expected. They always were, but Sara had spent 6 months in zero-gravity hand combat training for exactly this. She dropped low, let its massive arm sweep over her head, and drove her blade hard into the joint behind its knee. The Drakon shrieked, a sound like tearing metal, and stumbled sideways. Sara spun, put 2 pulse rounds into its chest plate, and watched it collapse into the dirt. The second one came from the left. She heard it before she saw it, that heavy rhythmic thud of scaled feet. She rolled, took a glancing blow across her shoulder that cracked her armor plate and sent white-hot pain down her arm, and came up firing. First shot wide. Second shot caught the Drakon directly in the throat. It dropped hard. The third, the largest, the one standing closest to Kale, didn't rush her. It watched. It waited. Sara felt her pulse in her temples, her fingers, the soles of her boots. Her shoulder was screaming. Her hands were completely steady. It charged. She didn't move until the last second. When it was close enough that she could smell the acid burn of its breath, she sidestepped, grabbed its extended arm with both hands, used its own momentum to swing herself up onto its back, and locked her arm around its neck. The creature thrashed violently, reared backward, slammed her into the perimeter wall once, twice. Her vision went white at the edges. She held on. Kale's face pressed into the dirt. Kale not moving. She held tighter. 30 seconds of grinding, brutal struggle, and the Drakon went still. Sara dropped to the ground, knees hitting red dirt hard. She stayed there for 3 breaths. Then she crawled to Kale and pressed 2 fingers to his neck. A pulse. Strong and steady. She closed her eyes for 1 single second and let the relief move through her before she locked it away again. Then she stood, slowly, armor grinding against her ribs, and faced the 3 bodies on the ground. None of them were getting back up. The courtyard was silent except for distant sirens and the sound of boots running toward her position. Commander Harlan arrived first. Broad, weathered, the kind of man who had seen too many wars to be surprised by anything. He looked at the Drakons. He looked at Sara. He looked at the cracked shoulder plate hanging off her armor and the blood drying on her hands. He said nothing for a long moment. "Cadet," he finally said, low and careful. "This is going to create a considerable amount of paperwork." Sara looked down at Kale, who was beginning to stir, blinking slowly against the smoke-heavy air. She reached down and gripped his hand. "File whatever you need to, sir," she said. "He's alive. That's the only report that matters to me." Kale opened his eyes. He looked up at her, at the ruined armor, the blood, the absolute refusal to look anything other than certain, and managed a weak, lopsided smile. "You clicked off the commander's comm, didn't you?" he said. "Not a question." Sara helped him sit up. "I have no idea what you're talking about." The outpost lights buzzed and flickered in the dark alien sky. 3 Drakon soldiers lay still in the red dust. And in the middle of it all stood one human cadet, scratched, cracked, and completely undeniable, who had decided, without a single moment of hesitation, that some orders were worth breaking. And she would make that same decision again. Every single time.